I'd just like to add to that you know, I've thought a lot about this over the years. I mean, at one stage I wrote an article called Evacuation and Destruction, Two Separate Issues. So if you look at a woman's right to an abortion, I think you can say that it's if she's going to have a right, it's a right to evacuate her uterus. And when that means that there's no way that the fetus could live, well then that means the fetus dies. But if there's a way that the fetus could live, I would argue that abortion should not include the right to unnecessarily and intentionally kill the fetus. Now, whether you would then what you do about saying, well, should she then have the right to put the fetus, you know, at that risk, because obviously the sooner a baby's born, the more vulnerable and likely to be injured it is. And so it's very, very difficult questions. I was also listening to a radio program the other day about a group in Africa, I think it's a tribe, they were called the Donga, and it was a story about how at certain times they identify a child as what they call a spirit child, and they explained in this documentary that these Donga people then don't see that child as being a human at all. They see it as an incarnated spirit. And in the case that they were describing, the uncle took the 5-year-old boy off to the river and drowned the boy, and the whole village knew what was happening and approved of it. And as I listened, and there was a song written about it, and this singer from the group sang the song about what had happened. And I sort of thought about it in the context of abortion, because I think that dehumanizing, that this is not a child, this is not another human, and therefore we can kill it, is exactly what happens in abortion very often. That in order to be able to do that, putting it bluntly, that act of killing, you have to feel that you're not killing another human. So that's why any recognition of the fetus as a baby or as a person or as a human being really upsets people who are pro-choice on abortion.
I asked the doctor what was developed, like what's really there, and he took a pen and a piece of paper and he put a dot on the page and he says, oh, it's nothing, it's just a clump of tissue.
Lump of cells, and that she would very happily set me up with a colleague of hers, that it was a 10-minute procedure, and that, you know, why ruin the rest of your life, Gloria, you know, when this can be over and done with.
Really just a normal procedure that there's actually, it's called D&C, and I know now, since I've had it, there's almost that is jokingly referred to as a dusting and a cleaning.
Because it really made me very, very angry years later when I found out the development of, you know, I was told, I remember the first doctor saying to me, I said, you know, he never called it a baby. Well, it's just like pulling a tooth.
On my way out the door of the doctor's office, I saw a poster on the wall of the development, you know, of a child. And when I went to step in to look at that, he actually stepped in front of me and said, you don't want to look at that. That's just going to make your decision harder.
No one really told me anything about fetal development. No one said anything, even mentioned a baby, just basically that the procedure was easy.
I think just this recent case that happened with where this man killed his, I'm not sure if she's his wife, but she was his partner. She was pregnant with his child, and she was 7 months pregnant here in Toronto. And I had probably 30 media calls about that, with everybody enormously upset, saying, but you know, he should have been charged with 2 murders because the baby died as well. And it's then when you sort of rip apart that fuzzy veil you put in front of it, the sort of language is like, well, this is just a potential human life, or a potential human being, or it's just a bunch of cells, or it isn't anything yet. It's just a piece of tissue, that there's not a separate entity present. It's just part of the mother that she wants to get rid of. All of that, I think, dampens down our moral intuitions about the reality of what we're doing.